Hi guys, another one of my old cars down from the loft. I have done some work on this one in the past. It's toy grade. I don't know what scale it is. It's the same size as that blue one I did some work on the other day. Still got the original charity shop label on it. Cost me £2 whenever I bought it. Originally sold by Toys R Us. Well, they've been bust for a good few years now in the UK. 27 megahertz. Made in China. Okay, things I have done to it. I have put lights on it. There's no battery in there so we can't show. I've even got blue lights underneath. I'll see if I can find some batteries so we can show it, but the intention is today, or this series, is I'm going to convert it to hobby grade. Still leave the motor as standard, but probably put a servo to control the steering and an ESC to control the motor, so we got proper proportional steering and proportional drive. Okay, so Grandad left it up in the loft with the batteries in it. That's not a good start, is it? Oh dear. And I moan about people who dump stuff in charity shops with old batteries in them. And I've done it myself. Right, well we'll need to clean that up anyway. Although I will probably be replacing that with a 3S lithium-ion battery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 1.5, 12 volts that runs on, so a 3S should be fine. For anybody who hasn't watched my videos over the years, particularly the charity shop ones, I get through an awful lot of batteries. Because they're usually like that when I pick them up in charity shops, although I can't blame the charity shop for this one. This is entirely my own fault. Can't get much worse than that. Well, I suppose you can. They've leaked a bit. But on the face of it, although I'm not going to be using this battery box, it does look like we could still put some batteries in there and get it to run for demonstration purposes. Right, got some temporary batteries in there. So we've got lights, flashy lights. Okay, and obviously I think, have I got, I can't remember if I got lights for, there may not be enough power in those batteries I put in. We should be getting indicator lights and forwards and backwards. Or I may have disconnected them. Okay. If you peek in the back there's my homemade circuit board for the lights. So But most of that I should probably strip out again. And so we'll convert this to a 3S LiPo and hobby grade steering and all the rest of it. But it's dinner time now, so I'm going to stop. Right, let's take it apart and have a look inside. There's been a bit of a delay. I've been on the phone to Vodafone, my mobile provider. I've been on the phone to them many times since I bought a new phone for my wife. They just cannot seem to get their billing system right. Makes me very angry. Been ongoing since last October and they still haven't sorted it out. Hopefully doing this will calm me down. Right, okay. Aerial wire, bring that out. Oh, I can see why the lights weren't working. I had them on a separate battery. Looks like. Yeah. All looks a bit complicated in there. It isn't really, it's just a flashing circuit to flash the indicators. So when it goes left, the left indicators flash, and when it goes right, the right indicators flash. Oh, reversing light there, and headlights at the front. Yeah. Okay, well we won't worry about that for now. Oh, and the blue flashing lights, they're just typical strings of LEDs would have come from Poundland. Just drilled a row of holes, and then they are fed off the main battery pack, but because they only needed 3 volts I think, then I got a supplementary feed off midway down the battery pack. And because those batteries have leaked, getting it on my fingers. Right, so we'll get rid of this receiver, which is probably directly soldered on the battery leads. I don't know. Maybe not. Plug ended. Right. Oh, I see. Haha, that's how I did it. So that was the feed that would have fed up to there, off the existing battery supply. Right, to actually look at the motor, we'll have to unclip these bits that hold the gearbox together and undo the screws, I expect. And at the front end, to look at the steering. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll look at the steering first. I usually, when I'm doing a fairly long conversion like this, we have a look at the steering, we have a look at the gearbox, and well, the receiver is easy because we just replace that with a hobby grade receiver. So that's the steering. Let's just look and see if there was a manufacturer's name on the receiver, but there isn't. That's the H bridge with a nice heat, whatever you call it. Let's get rid of the heat. The word escapes me at the moment. That's what happens when you get old. Right, we'll get in close so we can have a look at the steering. At least they're all the same size screws. Are we ready? Big reveal. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So, simple enough there. Lift that off. Come on. So there's a slot in there, which that peg goes in. And what we've got there, I suppose you could call it a servo protector almost. It's a spring-loaded bit, so that when it goes over centre and the motor's still trying to drive it, it's got a bit of give in it. That's going to lift out nicely. Or is it? That's got one screw at the back. Well, so far it looks like we've got a fair bit of room to try and get a decent servo in there. Right, we'll have a look in that gearbox in a minute. So actually got a metal gear on it, which is good. And then this bit at the bottom here is the centering mechanism, or the adjustment. Which, that bit just there would sit in there, so it gets pushed back to the middle by the spring. So that centres the steering. So we don't need that. I ought to have a little box to put the bits in, really. Is that going to pop out nicely, or is that going to be awkward? There we go. So we're not going to need that. And that's all come off for now. Right, I did say we'd have a little look in here, so we can see how it works. It clips together. They usually break when you try and get them apart. Oh, only the one. That's odd. Oh, there's a screw there. That's why there was only one. Nice little selection of gears. So motor fits through there, and that would drive that one will drive the next one, and the next one will drive the third one in there. So it gives us a few gears for the stock. That one's, and then we can just see this bit. We can if it focuses. There we are. So that's the bit that's got a bit of give in it. When you go too far on the steering. Because there's the vaguest possibility that you might be able to reuse that on the front of the servo when we want to use it. That doesn't want to come off. No, that doesn't want to come off. It's probably the springs holding it together. No. That's better. That's because the gear was turning behind. I've got my finger on it now to stop it turning. So, looking at that, take that apart. Focus, there's a key on there, that little bit sticking out, which goes in between those two, which are spring loaded. So it just gives it that bit of flexibility, so it can go past the centre without stressing the motor too much. Or at least that's my explanation of how it works. I don't think we'd be able to use that on the front of the servo. Don't particularly want to anyway, but it's always a thought. I'll go and get a little box to put the bits in. Right, now we can see the space. We'll see if we can get one of these nice meaty metal gear servos in there to do the work. So that's going to fit there. Ideally we'll reuse that. So what we want to do is fit that in there somewhere. If we need to trim back a little bit further. Could do with it going back just a little bit further. Would that fit in that way? We need to retain these pieces because they hold the top of the steering in place. And those bits there go to there to hold the chassis in place, not chassis, the body shell in place. So we can't chop them off. It's just if it was that way up, then it's quite easy for the servo arm to come out that way and move that way. If you put it in that way up, you can still do the same basic job. I have to trim out these bits and see whether we can get it in low enough. Those go up in there, up to that height. Right, I'll do a bit of trimming and see what we can fit in there. Well, not quite ideal. I can get the servo in there, and that does fit in there nicely, but there's not enough clearance now to put this piece back in there. It's rubbing up against the end there, and then when the servo arm's on the front of that, it'll be even tighter. So what we're going to have to do is 3D print something. Obviously I can do a straight through bar. That won't be too difficult. We just need to figure out what we want on the side of it. Yeah, because that's actually designed to go back, right back there somewhere. Just pop that out again. Put the wheels on, so we can see what we're talking about. Oh, that's upside down. That's going to be in there like that. Is that right? Oh, it's got to be the other way. It's got to be that way. Oh, it does fit that way. Why couldn't I do that first time? Because I'm old and stupid, I expect. Right, yeah, that's got to fit in there like that. And there's not enough room for that to go in there at the same time. That's actually got to be quite a lot further forwards. And that moves backwards and forwards a bit as it turns as well. And those bits just there are the stops that stop it going too far. So we're going to have to do a bit of design work there to get that to fit in there, whichever way round we do it. It's going to have to be that sort of thickness, not the extra bit. I should think if I simply have a pillar coming up this way vertically with a slot in it and a peg sticking out of here, that will actually do the steering for us. Just a rough sketch of what I want. So a straight through bar instead of one with a kink in it, with that bit going up there for the servo peg to point through. So I need to do some measurements now, and then we'll try and 3D print it. While we're printing the whatever we want to call it, the push rod for the steering, we'll have a look at the gearbox, see if we can get it apart. Got a nasty feeling it's just going to break when we try. That's what usually seems to happen with these. Oh, I might be lucky. That one's come loose. Come on. Right. I'll say my usual experience is they split and they're useless then. Yeah, we're off. Excellent. Well, I didn't expect that. Wonder if I took them apart last time. I haven't checked back previous videos on this one. There are a few videos on this car, obviously when I did the lights on them. To be honest, the lights weren't that effective, but if I'm going hobby grade, you can get proper hobby grade. Why isn't that coming out? You can get proper hobby grade lighting sets. That doesn't want to come out. Why doesn't that want to come out? Do those wheels actually unscrew? It's got a big screw in. Yeah, they do. Well, that's unusual. Oh, and a washer. Don't lose that. Very nice. Right, so now those bits come off easily, and that lifts off. Oh, look at the size of that. That's a differential, isn't it? That's the size of that gear I'm looking at. That's a nice big solid thing. I don't really want to spend time trying to take that differential apart. That's interesting. Don't know what that's about. That's gone soft somehow. That's odd. Never come across anything like that on a nylon bush before. It looks like it's been vibrating, but can't see how. So I don't want to take it apart, but to be honest, I suppose I ought to. Just so we can see. Well, before we do that, let's have a look at the other bit. So, a reasonable size motor. How's that held in place? Oh, another clip. Well, I don't know that I really need to undo it because I can see in there. I don't know if we can see on the camera. Probably not got the light in the right place, but there's just a single brass gear, pinion gear on the motor. That's driving that one. And then that one's driving that one. Really? No, the other way round. Talking rubbish, Grandad. The brass one's driving that one. That makes more sense. And then that one is the one that's driving that one. Is it? No. I was right the first time. Gosh. Really? Or is that going to be... No, that's going to be like that. Yeah. Okay. Doubted myself there. No way you're going to have a tiny little gear like that driving a big one like that when you've got a nice big one like that. So, brass gear that we can't see unless I unscrew this or unclip it. And I don't like unclipping them, as I say, because they have a nasty habit of breaking when you unclip them. Might be able to get a torch to shine in there, or even right, now we can see. Put the flashlight on the camera. So, brass gear on the motor. We can see that clearly now. That's driving the narrow gear there. And then that gear, the bigger one, is the one that's driving that. And this is all a bit sticky, but we'll risk taking it apart. This will be a separate video in the series. I usually split them up. Do one long video on my other channel for people who like to see it all in one go. And then do shorter videos on my main channel. Split into a series. Right, that's going to come apart. Are those gears going to drop out or are they going to stay in place? Very careful, Grandad. Okay. Right, we've got them apart. Remember, the outside there is driven by the motor. And the outside of this one is clipped to there, so it's the outside of this is turning round. A little bit difficult to explain how a differential gearbox works. But the upshot is those gears are turning this axle. And those gears are turning this axle. But there's far better videos on YouTube that explain how a differential gearbox works. So I'm not going to try and explain it, because I don't know well enough to put it into clear wording. But we've got to get that shaft and that shaft back into those two holes. And that one into the middle one, that one into there, into there. Are they all in? They are all in. They are all in. Well done, Grandad. So if we try and hold the middle still, because of the way they work, if I turn this one way, the other one turns the opposite way. Right, okay, let's try and get that back together before we get muck and dust into the gearbox. backwards till it clicks, and then do it up. Let's turn that one back because that didn't go in straight. That's it. That should go in straight now. So, rather nice differential gearbox with decent sized gears in it. And I got mucky fingers. Right, I'll go and clean my fingers, but we've had a look in the gearbox. Right, see if we can get that back together now. Oh, I see. Oh no, that's the power wire come loose. Okay, well they fit in there. So what was that? No idea what that is. Those holes in there. Right, that's in place. I'm not going to do it back up because I might want to change those wires on there to an ordinary connector. So we'll just push it back together for now. Leave those clips off. I'll probably put a couple of screws in there just to stop it coming apart when we don't want it to come apart. Come on. Right, that'll do for now. Obviously I haven't got those wires coming out the right way, but that'll just do, just so we don't lose any bits. Right, I'll go back and see if we've got our printed bit yet. Right, well, first print of the push rod, lots of problems. Got to do quite a bit of work on that to sort that out. Somehow or other I've got my measurements completely wrong. That is supposed to be there, centered. So I'm about, how have I got that far out? I'm about 5-6 millimeters out. Something I measured was wrong. Okay, but apart from that, I can see it doesn't need to be as high as I've made it either. I know what I've done there. I've used the top measurement there. Is the top measurement there. The actual hole should be down quite a bit further. And as I say, about, well, that's 4 millimeters. Yeah, about 6 millimeters further that way. Okay. Not too bad for a first attempt. Right, I'm just checking the amount of toe in, as we call it, where the front wheels are actually pointing inward slightly. That's with the original. And this is my 3D printed rod. I think that looks about the same. Just check that again. Try. That's all going to fall apart now. Process. I'm just doing this because I put that blue one on there and it just looked, it was so far in, but no, I reckon that's the same. Because when it lays flat, it's a bit different. Yeah. Okay, let's put that back in again. Put the cover on. Come on, line up. Yeah, it is all right. That looks right. Still haven't got the this quite right yet, though. I've over adjusted it or overcompensated for the mistake I made the first time. Yeah, I've gone. How have I gone so far the other way now? Just can't believe that. Yeah. First one, this bit here was right over here, and I've gone too far the opposite way. It's actually got to be centered right there. How could I get that so wrong twice? Well, I know how. Yeah, me. Never mind. That's what 3D printers are all about. You can keep checking it until you get it right. Just put that on there again. Check it for clearance. Right. On this one, it's got little stops on either side that catch on the inside of the bodywork to stop it going too far. And on the blue one, I've got them on the bottom, catching on the bottom of the bodywork. Again, they're right. I'm tempted to actually change that so we can move the wheels further. So we can turn a bit tighter, but we'll try and get it right the first time, and then we'll worry about trimming it. I can always file that down or saw it so we can go a bit further. Got to get this right though. It's got to be there. The middle of that should be there. Right, version 3. Got a tester lined up for it. I've just got a screw through there at the moment. It's not as wide as it should be, so we've got a fair bit of slop there, but we can see the general idea. If I just put that on auto, yeah, that looks good. So we need to sort out a peg there that's a bit thicker than that screw. But I think I've got the dimensions right in the end. Turn that off, see if we can get this in place, just so we can at least see it working the way it should. Okay, that's all in place. So now we can okay, so we've made progress. Switch that off. That's good. That's not as hard as I was thinking it might be. Like I said, that's just a, I'll just take that off and you can see what I mean. That's just a screw there. That's not big enough for that hole that I've made there. So I'll put some sort of sleeving on that to thicken it up, so there isn't quite so much play. Yeah, that'll do for tonight. Right, nothing too technical here, just hot glue to hold the servo in place, and I've put a little sleeve over the screw so that actually thickens it up a bit so there's less slop. And it should also mean that the screw doesn't cut into the plastic. Right, what have I done with the other wheel? Over there. Panicking for a minute then. Okay, so that's in place. I'm just looking at that. It's technically possible that that might bounce off the top of the... Yeah, I might have to do a version 4 of that with a ridge sticking along the top there that will stop it lifting off. I don't think it can lift off, but it might. So there might be a version 4. If we find it drops off, then we'll do version 4. Come on, get on there. I might fast forward that bit. That took much longer than it should have done. Okay, so back end now. Switch that off again. All we're going to do here is solder a suitable connector. For now, I'll put one of these JST connectors on there, straight onto the motor, so we can just plug the motor straight into that ESC. If we find that one's not got enough power, then we'll upgrade it to something sensible. But the other Mini was running on a little one like that, so we'll see how we go. Right, I'm going to use that little ESC. It's probably not up to the job, but for the purpose of getting this running, so we can have a bit of fun, we will use it. Right, all we're looking at there is getting the on-off switch on. God, they put a great big lump of solder in there. Gonna have to tap that to get it out the way. Right, try that again. Okay, so we can use the existing on-off switch. We don't want those bits of solder there. Right, motor. Probably can't even see what I'm doing, can you? I don't know why I'm trying to film this. Right, so we just got a standard connector on there, which will run the motor. Okay, put the soldering iron out the way, and we'll put this back together. Okay, looks like there's a screw missing from there. Wheels, that way round. That's handy to know that they are removable. So many of these toy grade ones, they're just pushed onto splines and you can't get them off easily. They are rather nice looking too. What's that screw in there? That's all right. They look nice until you realise that the disc brakes in there actually turn with the wheels. So you lose a bit of scale effect there, don't you? Never mind. So that's on there. We could do this. If we plug it into the right place. Get it right way around. Into there. Put that into there. Turn that on, lift it back up. Oh. What's going on there? And tell me that on-off switch that I've carefully soldered in place doesn't work. Oh, it does. It's working every time now. Bit wobbly, that wheel. In fact, they're both a bit wobbly, aren't they? Still, that works. So if we put a receiver on there, we should actually have it running. Right, just for test purposes, we'll use a little 2S. Because we can just sit it on top there with everything else. And this receiver, transmitter, which is a unbranded, but I believe it's an All-Star now that I've seen a few of them about. Oh, that was interesting. Steering. Well, just happens it's pointing the right direction. We'll give it a little run on the floor. Do you think that flashing green light is telling me the battery's nearly run out in this transmitter by any chance? That'll be our supper ready, will it now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop what I'm doing. In a minute, I'll just put the body shell on so we can see what it'll look like. Body shell's just sitting on there, it's not screwed on. Oh, I think that is definitely telling me the battery's running out in this controller. Yeah, okay. Trying to tell me something, isn't it? Yeah, I think we got some flat batteries in the transmitter. Okay, well that'll do for now because my tea's ready. Dinner, tea, supper, whatever word you want to use. Evening meal. So we'll come back afterwards. Right, fresh batteries in the controller now. So no flashing lights. So we'll give it another run. So this is still just a 2S battery in there. It's got slightly less grip than the blue one did. Oh, there's a real squeak in there somewhere. Oh dear, that squeak. Okay, well that'll do. So we've got it working. What I'll do in the next episode is have a look, see if we can get any of the lights working. I do somewhere have a proper hobby grade lights module switch thing. So I'll have to have a look, see if I can find that. Maybe a bit of a delay in finding that, simply because I've got to have a look in my stock. Those wheels are definitely out of alignment. Still, yeah, that'll do for now. Hi guys, I think this is probably episode 7. What I was going to do was take the gearbox apart again and put some silicone grease on it to try and stop the squeak. I think all it is there was a couple of plastic bushes in there, and I think they need a bit of grease on them. So that's what I will be doing. But in the meantime, I also had a little bit of a dig to see if I could find the hobby grade lighting kits. This is one of them. This is actually more than I want to do, but I might just demonstrate it anyway. Got a couple of LEDs stuck into a couple of the ports. So we just unplug that. Plug in a single cell. Might help if we plug that into the right port on there. Right. Don't know if the camera will catch it. Went through a light sequence there. I was just setting it up. Where's those LEDs? They're just plugged in for demonstration purposes. So if I press the auxiliary button on here, that operates channel 3. If you can see that. Green one's not very bright. We can change the sequence that it goes through on there by changing that dial to different positions, but either way it doesn't actually do what I want, because it actually sequences the LEDs, makes them go through a sequence of lights, and then you could have, what's that, 7 for some reason, 7 lights plugged in, and it'll sequence through different flashing rates. But that's not what I want. I want it on or off, so I can switch the headlights on or off. So that one's no good. Well, it's nice, but it's not what I want. So that can go back in the bag out the way. Got a few odds and ends in there. And the other thing I've got is this one, which is a much simpler lighting switch. So plug that one in. Give it some power. We'll just give it a 1S at the moment. Then I've got that wired away to this one. Oh yeah. Not that you can see them because it's only on a 1S. We've got headlights on. So if we hold that, press that button, yeah, off. Oh, that's in flashing mode, which we don't want. I think that's faster flash. Yeah, that's faster flash. That's off. and that's on. They're not particularly bright LEDs that I got in there anyway, but with just the single cell LiPo, they're not very bright at all. And for the should that be lighting up the backlights at the same time? I can't remember. Right, backlights are on. Sorry, front lights are on, but we've got no backlights. Ah, did I arrange this so that if it's driving backwards, then the backlights come on? In that case, we have to swap the wires over. Because I think these were just connected directly to the leads that went to the motor. Yeah, that's it. So now, again, not very bright, but the backlights are on. Okay, well, it's a while since I did this, so I've got to remember how I set it up. And then if we leave that on there, unplug that, and plug that into there, that's the reversing light, I think. Yeah, that's the reversing lights. So the lights are there. Oh, and then because there's the indicators, they are set up a different way again, because they were off the steering motor, and there, that's where I actually built my own flasher unit. So I connect that one there, turn it over. There we go. So that's our rather a slow flash. And then if I put that the other way around, it should be the other side. Yeah. So I think I will have a think about this before we actually try and wire it up with those lights that I've got on there. And truth is, I want the lights on all the time it's running anyway. So there's really no advantage having an on-off switch, a remote on-off switch. So I might just rig them up with a switch on them, so I can just switch them on and off. Yeah, have a think about that. At least we've established that the work I did on there does still work, or at least the LEDs are still there. They're not very bright. I could put much brighter LEDs in the front there. But that'll do for now, I think. That's just a quick review. I will, as I say, take the gearbox apart and put some silicone grease on it, stop the squeaking, and then I will think about the lights. Oh, because there's those lights as well. No point in putting them on this switch, which is unfortunate, because I can actually wire them in quite easily. The thing is, they don't come on immediately. You have to press that switch to get the sequence going. Right, the wire's dropped out. probably on. That was it. That was on briefly. There we go. Right. But just putting the power onto the lead doesn't get the LEDs up, because on the back of there's a switch panel that goes through the sequence. So there's not much point in having that set up. Yeah, I might just do it with external switches, so we can just switch them on and off as required, straight off the battery pack. Yeah, that'll do for now. Well, I've worked out where the squeak's coming from. See that bit of white there, white dust? Looks like this bush has been turning. It's not supposed to turn. That's supposed to be the bearing, and the axle's supposed to turn inside it. But looking at this, it's obviously got, well, let me focus, got rusty at some time, somehow, and that's catching the bearing, the nylon bush, and making it spin round, instead of the axle spinning inside it. I can't get that off, but I can grease it, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a good greasing with that silicone grease. While I've got the top off, I'm also going to replace that push rod, or whatever you want to call it, front linkage. This is version 4, and I've got an extra ridge along there that should stop it lifting up. Haven't had a problem with it so far, but while I was doing some other printing, I put this in to be printed at the same time. So I'm going to take that one off. And put this one on. So you can see the ridge. That's the extra bit. Oh, I could put a little bit of grease on these bits. Right, so this one, so we go on there. Right, so it can't lift up off there now. Give it some power again, just so we can test it. What have I done with the controller? Okay, I'll pop the top back on and we'll see if it still squeaks. Well, I've done all that work because I thought it was the gearbox that was squeaking. Put it down and it squeaked straight away. It's this front wheel. Ah dear, just done a load of extra work. I mean, it needed doing anyway, it needed taking apart and greasing, but that's the squeak, the front wheel. I could have sworn it was coming from the back. On top of that, I've also remembered, I haven't finished the job. Forget the lights, I've still got to clear this area out so we can put the batteries in. I'd forgotten about the batteries. Oh well, there'll be a couple more episodes then. There'll be the lights, which I think I'll just rig up to an external switch. And clear this out so we can get the batteries in there. I don't know which batteries I'll use. At the moment it's running absolutely fine on a 2S. I had it in mind to do the same as I did for the blue one and get three 18650s in there in a 3S format. I might still do that. Yeah, we'll see. Well, I've just sprayed a little bit of silicone lubricant spray on that front wheel and that's completely cured the squeak. So taking the gearbox apart, because I thought it was the gearbox squeaking, well, I would say it was a waste of time, but it wasn't, because I did need to put the grease on it anyway, so it's probably worth doing. And we've put grease on the front pivots while I had my grease out, and we've replaced that linkage, so it wasn't a complete waste of time. And just for a bit of fun, I've stuck a 3S lipo in there, so I'll put the lid back on again and we'll have a go. But I've still got to clear that out so we can have the battery underneath. We don't have to keep taking the body shell off to change the battery. So, little test drive. Try and pull away gently, because now we've got the 3S in there, it's going to struggle. Definitely no squeak. Let's turn that throttle down a bit. Yeah, okay, so a 3S battery makes it a bit crazy in here. Sorry about that. Yeah, enough of that. I'm getting a bit silly, Grandad. Yeah, okay, so we've got to sort out the lights still haven't done that. We've got to sort out the battery box underneath so we can fit the battery without having to take the body shell off. Thanks for watching. If you want more information, check down below in the video description. If you like this video, you might like this one up here. And if you want to subscribe, you can check out my channel over here. Up here is my latest video on my channel, and down here is a video playlist associated with the video you've just watched. Thanks again for watching.